Well, good morning. I'm glad you're here. We are continuing in our series that we're like smack dab in the middle of. Literally, like this is the midpoint, right? We're halfway through it, so some of you guys are like, hallelujah, and some of you ladies are like, let's keep going because because this is so good. Now, I really do think that that everybody's kind of enjoying this series. I know I am. I know it's kind of tough. It's tough material. We're kind of covering some things that are challenging. I've had my toes stepped on as I've been preparing and kind of pulling some things together. And I'm guessing, based on some of our conversations, you guys have felt a little kicked in the pants some too in this. And so it's just natural. It's natural for us because, living in relationship with other people sometimes is a challenge. Other people are challenging. We are challenging as people. And so when we come together and try to engage each other in relationship, it can be tough and it can be tense. And as we're kind of looking at God's Word and kind of trying to figure out what He says about how we need to engage each other and how we need to engage in relationship, it can be convicting. And I just want to remind you that I am the messenger. I'm not the one convicting you. That's God's Spirit. So when you get kicked in the pants, it's not me, okay? But I'm right there with you. I'm having to wrestle this stuff to the ground even as I am presenting it to you. And so I'm just thankful that God has given us this guidance, that He's given us this insight, He's given us this wisdom, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that each of us are seeing a similar impact in our lives as we kind of wrestle through this stuff and as we engage in it together. And so, we've been talking about engaging in relationships, and while we've been kind of focused on our marriage relationships, a lot of the principles, a lot of things that we're talking about actually are useful in just regular everyday relationships, right? With our friends, with our family members, with co-workers, with schoolmates, with whatever engaging relationships, the families, the people, the neighbors that are around us, how we engage with them, how we get into relationship with other folks. And so while we are focusing on the marriage relationship, we are actually identifying different keys to success with all relationships. And so, and we're going to continue that, and today's probably going to be a little more isolated to the marriage relationship than past weeks. But it's okay because there are going to be some elements in this as you're engaging with other people that you'll see, and just again having understanding of who people are, right? Just general understanding of how we're all created and how we're created differently, right? Men are created differently than women and all this other stuff, and so we know that not just on the physical biology, right? The appearance, but we know this because of the way we think, the way we process things. And a lot of guys, we look at our wives, we look at women, and we just kind of scratch our heads and go, they don't make any sense to me, right? And women do the same thing to us, guys, right? They kind of look at us and go, well, that doesn't make any sense at all, and whatever you're thinking and doing and whatever else. And so we come together and we try to engage in a good relationship together, but we're so different. And the same thing is true when we're trying to engage in relationships with others that are not part of our marriage relationships. And so just having some psychological understanding of how people are and who people are and how we're created to be is going to be key for us to have success in all relationships. So as we've been talking about this, we've talked about that our relationships need to be grounded first with Christ, right? We have to have a vertical relationship. We have to have that relationship with Jesus, because without that relationship, then we don't have anything to inform us of what a proper relationship in this world looks like, because He gives us the ability to love. He gives us the ability to have mercy and grace and peace and all these different things. And so without a growing relationship and a growing friendship with Jesus, we can't have a growing friendship with anyone else, with our spouse, with anybody, right? So we've got to make sure that we have this relationship with Jesus right first. And this is kind of review, so I see you guys looking at your notes like we're not there yet. This is just sort of quick review here to get us all kind of brought back up to speed, because we've had a whole week, right, to forget what we talked about last week. So I have to remind myself. I'm sure you need it too. So, but we have to have a growing relationship with Jesus in order to have a growing relationship with anybody else, because it is that relationship with Jesus that informs us. It's out of the overflow of that relationship that allows us to have solid, meaningful relationships in our lives. And so, in this process, I kind of gave you guys the acronym, and this is the series of acronyms. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, this is like the series of acronyms. They're easy and they work. So hopefully they're memorable. I don't know. That I gave you, friends, right? For us to have friends, they need to be fruit-filled, they need to be reciprocal, there needs to be intimacy, they need to be enjoyable, they're needed, we need to be devoted. And then through our friendships, specifically with our spouses, and even with friendships around us with other people, we get sanctified, right? Because we have our flaws pointed out, we have our selfishness pointed out, we have everything that is wrong with us, right? It gets pointed out. And so then we get to look at it, and again, through that relationship with Jesus and through the Holy Spirit navigating in us, we get to look at that and say, okay, is this behavior, is this wrong? Am I in the wrong here because of sin? And if so, then you get the chance to work through that. And the sanctification process is you working in concert with the Holy Spirit to get sin out of your life. And so as we're engaging in relationships, these relationships help point us to Christ-likeness. And really in our marriages, in our families, that's, we become whole as we become holy, right? As we become holy, we become whole. And so, this whole sliding us into a deeper, more sanctified relationship with Christ kind of flows out of our friendships. It flows out of our friendship with neighbors and co-workers and all that stuff, but it really flows out of that friendship and that relationship with our spouses. And so moving past that, we talked about how to be committed. How do we commit, to the long haul? How do we stick in this thing together? And so we talked about last week, if you're looking for what you get out of a relationship, you'll be looking to get out of a relationship, right? So if we're approaching the relationship just for my selfish benefit, if we're looking for what I get out of this relationship, then it won't take very long for us to start looking for another relationship. Because at some point, the person that we're looking for all these different things from, they're going to let us down. There's going to come a day when you wake up and they're going to let you down. And if we're just looking exclusively for what I can take, as soon as I start getting that, as soon as I start taking, as soon as I stop that, when I get to the end of their ability to give, then I'm out. And so if we're looking for only what we can get out of a relationship, we will quickly be looking to get out of that relationship. And we talked about how we needed to shift from looking at this take to more of a give, and then that shifted from, we made the comparison between this being a contractual arrangement, right? You give me this, I give you this, and this just exchange, this transactional type of thing. We said it looks like a contract, and we talked about how so often in our culture, in our world, and it's not just limited to the secular culture, but it's in the church body too, right? That we look at our relationship, our marriage relationship as a contract. It's about what I can get, and then I'll give you what I can give you in exchange for what you give me. And we're always just kind of looking to get more than we're willing to give. And so when we're doing that, we're kind of in a contractual marriage. And what we need to do is we need to shift from that contract to a covenant. And so the covenant just, it tells us that I'm going to give everything no matter what I get. I'm going to give everything no matter what I get. And so we kind of looked at this chart that I pulled from Mark Driscoll, and this is a great comparison for us to just kind of break it out and just say, look, you know what, this is what a contract marriage looks like, this is what a covenant marriage looks like, and then for us to just kind of sit down and say, okay, where do I land on each of these? And this could be way bigger, there's a lot more things that we could put on both sides of this, but this gives us a good starting point. And I think if we really sit down and we start really processing through this through prayer, then we'll start seeing how, we definitely want the covenant marriage, but we live out of the contract element of it more so. We want all the benefits of the covenant, but we live off of the contract side in our actions. And so how do we shift that? How do we commit to being in a covenant marriage? And we decided that the covenant marriage is committed to loving your spouse the way Jesus loves us, and that was completely unconditionally. Jesus came and he gave his entire life for us to be reconciled. And so he served, he came in and served. He had the right to demand everything, but he came in as a servant. And everything that we see in through his life points to us. If we're going to love the way that he loved, we have to be serving. We have to be giving things away. And we have to do it without an expectation of anything in return. And so, we have to, in covenant, we have to shift from what will my spouse do today to make me happy to what can I do today to make my spouse happy. Right? We have to shift this from being selfish to being serving. And, again, if we can shift from a contractual view of what I can gain, what I can get, and we just do it out of what I can give away, that race to the back of the line to be the first one to give up the thing that we want, that's how we're going to achieve this covenant element. And see, when we're both doing that, when we're doing that in relationship, then you don't feel like you're losing, right? Because in every element where you're giving and you're serving and everything else, your spouse is doing the same thing. They're giving and they're serving, and so you both are coming together, feeling loved and appreciated, and it really moves us into this element of covenant relationship. And we walked through Paul's outline of what love looks like in action, right? We talked about that stuff, and we're not going to rehash all those points, but kind of looking at what love looks like in action. I mean, that's Paul's whole thing there, is walking through what love looks like in action. And you can, if you've missed those weeks, you can go back to our website, go to the download page, you can get all the notes, there's the videos on there and all that fun stuff. And if you've missed something along the way, I would encourage you to go check that out and just kind of get caught up on it. There's some really good stuff, not because it's from me, but because I think God has kind of put this stuff out here for us, and some good information that will help us take steps to have stronger relationships. So that brings us to today. This week's topic is love and respect. Love and respect. And this topic is pulled straight out of Paul's letter to the church in Ephesus. We're going to go pick up some notes from Peter as well. And just a quick statement, I have to say this, right? So every time we look at the Bible, we recognize that this is actually God-breathed, this is God-inspired writings, that it was actually written by real people. They account real events that happened. We look at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We see the life of Jesus outlined. It reveals Jesus' life and ministry. And this is where he kind of lives out the example for us, right? And so then we have guys like Paul and Peter who wrote, and their writings actually give us the application points. They kind of go back and they look at what Jesus said and what he did, and they actually break into application points of how you walk out the things that Jesus did and said in the way he walked. And so as we're digging in today, that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at some of Paul's writings. We're going to be looking at some of Peter's writings, and kind of take our lead from what Jesus lived out, what he said, and then how Paul and Peter kind of interpreted it for us and gave us some pretty cool applications for us. So we're going to start in Ephesians, and we have Ephesians 5:33, and this is going to be like our umbrella verse for today. And it says, "To sum up, each one of you is to love his wife as himself, and the wife is to respect her husband." Love your wife as yourself. Respect your husband. And now, before we go breaking some things down, I've given you these passages. I don't have them on the screen, but I've made the notes of where they're found for you there, so you can go look at these later. But Ephesians 5:22, 25, and 28 says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. In the same way, husbands are to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hates his own flesh, but provides and cares for it." So it's not possible for you to hate yourself, right? And not eat when you're hungry, not get a drink when you're thirsty, not put on a jacket when you're cold, right? It's not possible because you don't hate yourself. You don't hate yourself. So why would you not do the same things for your spouse? Why would you not provide and encourage and do these different things? Because, if you love yourself, then that's how you should love your spouse. So Paul says it's not possible. It's not possible for these things to be the same. So Colossians, again, this is Paul. "Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and don't be bitter towards them." And then we step over to Peter in 1 Peter 3, 1 and 2, and then we're going to skip down to 7. It says, "Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives." That's really important because It's possible for you to win your spouse over to Christ because of the way you love and respect him or her, right? When they see you respectful and pure, when they see your respectful and pure conduct, they will be converted. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Now, I think it's pretty clear, guys, men, go love your wives, right? And women, go submit and respect your husbands, right? Men, love your wives. Women, respect your husbands. All right, let's pray. I'm just kidding. That's not it. I wish it was it. We got to unpack that a little bit, right? But it's repeated. It's repeated several times throughout Scripture, and these are just some of the highlights, right? These are just the easy ones. These are the low-hanging fruit that we can pick. But we need to recognize that we've got to build a foundation here based off of who we are, and that's what these passages actually speak to. It speaks to the way that God created men and women, and He created them with differences to be complementary to one another. He created us to be complementary to one another. And again, we've twisted these things, we've twisted these phrases in our secular culture, we've misinterpreted them, we've abused them as the church, right? We've used the Bible as a weapon, and we use it to beat people up instead of lifting up and encouraging. And so we've kind of gotten these things a little bit screwed up. But God created men and women, and He created them with differences to be complementary to one another. Now, we talked about that, I think, within our first week, right? How God created a woman. He saw that man was alone, and He created her, and it was a partner who was fitted for him, right? Who was made specifically for him to fill in the gaps for him. And so we look at this and we're, okay, well, men, love your wife. Women, respect and submit to your husband. And like I said, I wish that was the end of our discussion here today, but it really leaves us kind of scratching our heads a little bit, right? Especially with our cultural input around us, right? What do you mean I gotta respect him? He's not respectable. What do you mean I gotta love her? She's mean, right? I mean, there's so many things that the world says, that the world kind of pushes back against this stuff. And really, what it comes down to is we just need to recognize that previous statement, that God created us, and He created us in a way that we would be complementary to each other. And we can look at this, and like I said, the world kind of looks at it and goes, okay, well, the Bible was written by men, and they're all chauvinists, and they're sexist, and blah, 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 and this is just to serve the man, and whatever. And it's actually quite the opposite. The way we're created is women are created to naturally love. And men are created to naturally honor and respect. So it's when God gave this command of women love your husbands and husband respect your wives, it's not being counterintuitive, right? He's saying, I'm asking you to go do the thing that you don't do well because she does that well. And I'm asking you to go do the thing that he doesn't do well, to go do well because he doesn't do well, right? And so, but when you come together and you work in concert, it makes it work. It's complementary to each other. See, for God to say to women, hey, women, go and love your men, and men, go and respect your wives, that'd be like looking at a turtle and say, hey, turtle, go slow. Right? Because the turtle already goes slow. And so if God had said, hey, women, go love your husbands, well, okay, that's easy. I already love. Like, how many times do you say that you love somebody? Like, how many times do you talk to a family member and you close out the statement, the conversation with love you, or you're on the phone with somebody and you say, I love you? Like, how many of you have said, I love you, today, right? All right? For women, the love element comes easy, right? And for guys don't hang up the phone going, all right, bro, I love you. Like, there's a couple of dudes that I say that to, like, literally, like there's two, all right? But I don't call Mike Davis and say, hey man, I love you. How you doing today? I love you. Well, we may have that engagement like once,
True.
you know? But it's not like we end every conversation. It's not like we're engaging each other that way. We engage each other with honor and respect. There's like a male code, right? We get mad at each other, and we're either going to throw around and fight, or we're going to step back because we have respect for the friendship, right? And so for this call for guys to love your wife, it's this take a step to meet her for who she is. It's step out, and because this is how she is, she loves naturally, she's going to respond when you love. And for women, this is how he communicates naturally. He communicates from a place of respect. Now, we're sinful, and we're broken, and so this isn't absolutely pure in everything. But at the core of who God made us to be, that's how He made us. That's how He made us. And when we're working right together, it's complementary. It lifts both of us up. And it makes the whole relationship work really well. And again, our culture has taken this direction and tried to make it oppressive. Right? It's tried to make it oppressive. Tried to twist it. And Satan just tries to bring confusion. He's the father of confusion. God is not. God deals in reality. He deals in fact. He deals in truth. And our culture has kind of taken this stuff and tried to make it oppressive, and it's not. And really, when it all comes together, it's very beautiful. It is a key to true success in relationship. So a key for successful marriage is having love and respect. Men, love your wife. Women, respect your husband. And again, because we're sinful, it's easy for us to fall, well, I can't love her because she's being so disrespectful. I can't love her because she's mean. I can't love her but God says to love her, period, right? And if we're talking about love, how Jesus loves, then it doesn't matter how many times have you sinned against Him today. And yet, He still loves you unconditionally. You still have grace. You still have mercy. I can't respect Him. He's so disrespectful. He speaks in harsh terms. He does whatever. You're called to show respect. And again, think about it as honoring God through your relationship. He's called us to do this. So as an act of obedience, as an act of honoring God, that's how we need to do life together. Some of you guys are familiar with this term, love and respect, right? This phrase, love and respect, is because there's a book, Dr. Emerson Eggerichs wrote this book, Love and Respect, several years ago. And he wrote it based off of biblical principles and years of research. And a lot of the principles that we're going to be talking about today just come, again, plagiarizing like crazy. I'm not really, because they're not my thoughts, but the ideas, some of the stuff that's coming out of today are the results of his work and his research, and things, again, talking about that psychology, right? The way that we actually engage with people, they saw consistency. They saw consistency over years and years and years of research of seeing how men and women engage each other and how they felt and how their blood pressures changed and their heart rates changed and all these different things based on the engagement with each other. And so a lot of things we're going to talk about today come from, yes, biblical standpoint, because everything is based off of what God has directed us to do, but then there's also just understanding who we are as people, right? Just the psychology, just the science of who we are. And so when we can come together and we can marry these things, it really does help us to better understand, better apply these things. And hopefully, we're going to see some things that we can all take and apply to our lives. And honestly, I'm hoping that every week that we're together, we walk away with something we can apply to our lives. But like I said, through this whole series like that, there's things that's coming at me that I'm having to wrestle to the ground. I'm having to wrestle it to the ground. I have to figure out, how is this going to transform my life so that my relationships are transformed? And if we really kind of approach all Scripture, if we approach all of our study when we're looking at God's Word, if we approach it from that attitude and that aspect, how it can transform me so that it can transform our relationships, how will it transform our world? What kind of impact will it have? Anyway, that's bigger thoughts. As we walk through this stuff today, I hope that we all recognize that as we're talking about these things, we need to realize that for this stuff to work, you actually have to be a person of goodwill. Right? If you're just a mean, angry, hateful jerk, and that's who you are, and your whole point of existence every single day, you wake up brushing your teeth going, how can I make somebody's life miserable today? Then this probably isn't going to work for you because you're not a goodwill person. But I think everybody who's in this room, I think most of us, I think everybody in here, we're good-willed people, but if you're not a good-willed person, then this is going to be more of a struggle for you than it will be for those who are good-willed people. And you have to work from a standpoint of thinking that your spouse is a good-willed person, right? You may have gotten things screwed up. There may have been mistakes. There may be a lot of baggage because of where you've been in life, because of what happened to you before you were married, what happened to you since you've been married, whatever. But at the end of the day, you got to recognize either the person that I'm with is a goodwill person, and I need to act in goodwill, because as I'm doing the things that God has called me to do, it's going to bring them to a place of acting out of their goodwill and being a nice person and serving and wanting to serve God and to honor God, and they're going to start stepping into what God's asking them to do. So we're operating from a standpoint of the person that we're sitting with, the person that we're living with, the person that we're engaging day in and day out in this relationship is a good-willed person. And I do want to take this moment and say, you know what, if you're in a position now or ever where you're in danger, you need to get out of that situation. And then you can figure out how to move forward. Don't sit in a bad relationship. Don't sit in an abusive relationship. Don't sit where you're in harm's way trying to implement these different things. Get safe. Right? You get safe, and then you figure out what your next steps will look like. So anyways, let's get started. We're going to dig into this, and again, I told you this is the series for acronyms because they're just awesome. And so hopefully this will help us to kind of come to grips with some of this stuff, help us understand it, and everything like that. So right now we're going to look at, for the guys, this is for you to focus on to help you love your wives, right? So we're going to do, the acronym is going to be couple. So as you're going to go down through there, you can fill in here, the first letters are going to be COUPLE. And that's what we're going to process through here. And the first one for you guys, closeness. Closeness. If you want to love your wife well and you want to help her have respect for you, then you're going to engage her with closeness. And we pull this from Genesis 2:24. It's cling, hold, and keep close, right? It's that you leave your parents, your father and your mother, and you cling to your spouse. It's that clinging, it's that holding close. And Deuteronomy 24:5 is invest in being close to your wife. And Deuteronomy 24:5 is talking about how the soldiers back in many moons ago, when they were first married, the soldiers were actually told they were required to take a year off and spend their first year with their spouse. And it was for this reason, to be close to your spouse. And so, how often do we start our marriage relationships and it's like after the honeymoon, we get like a week, right? You get a week together, no separation, and then it's over. And then life happens. Work, life just happens. Things happen. You're pulled apart. Imagine if you had a year. Imagine if you just had a year to be close, to get to know each other better, to invest that time together. Closeness. It's face-to-face time. It's looking and listening. And I'll tell you this right now. Heather and I, and again, this is, I can hear what she's saying, I can listen to her, and I can be playing solitaire on my phone. And still hear everything she's saying, and she's like, okay, what did I just say? And I can tell her what she exactly just said, and it just makes her mad, right? So, but for her to feel like I'm being close and I'm actually listening to her, it's me looking at her. It's me going face to face. And so what does closeness look like? What does closeness look like in practice? How do we live out closeness? And it requires time. It requires time. We got to give up our time in order to be close. Again, going back to that Deuteronomy, they took time off. They took a year off. It takes time. We have to give up our time. You walk in from work, don't throw your stuff over in the corner and go lock yourself in the bedroom for 2 hours, right? You got to spend time together. You got to be in the same room. You need to be face to face. Hold hands, hug. Clara can probably explain this a little bit better, but she and Heather kind of, I don't know what it is. I haven't been clued in on the joke, but they talk about how you're supposed to embrace each other for, was it 20 seconds for it to actually count as a good hug, for it to be therapeutic. And so, embrace each other. Just hug each other. And so, if you hug, that's closeness, right? It's physical closeness. There's the therapy of a hug. There's affection without sexual intention. So you can go and you can hug, and you can hold that hug, and then you can step back, and then you can just start talking, face-to-face talking. Alone and focused on her. Seek out a date night, right? You want to be close to your spouse? You want to be close? Seek out a date night. Go and intentionally, spend time together. And maybe even, guys, just, create a cheat sheet. On the palm of your hand, ask her this question, and then ask her this question, and then ask her this question. Face-to-face talking when you're on a date. That's closeness. It takes time. We're called to do it. We got to cling. We got to hold. We got to keep close. The next thing. Did I hit the thing? Here we go. Openness. Share what you're feeling and facing. Openness. Share what's going on in life. Don't compartmentalize and store things away. It's so easy for guys, right? We can take the junk of the day and we can pile it into a box and we can shove it deep down inside and not think about it ever again until we have a heart attack or we have a breakdown because of anxiety or whatever that looks like, right? Be open. Share things. Guys, she may be asking you questions and you just feel like she's kind of nagging at you, and that's not what it is. She's asking you because she wants you to share what's going on in your life with her. Be open. Be open to sharing. Listen to the questions that she's asking because she's interested in sharing life with you. And then answer those questions. And maybe, guys, maybe it's a thing where you've had a really bad day and you come in and it was just a terrible drive home, or maybe you work from home like I do and it's been a terrible day with the kids because they want to kill each other. And you know that if you kill them both, then you're in trouble, and it's just not a good situation. So there's a time and a place to say, you know what, I need a timeout. I need 15 minutes just to decompress, and then I'll be happy to talk to you about what went on with my day-to-day, right? But it's communicate. Communicate that you need a minute. Don't just hear her question and turn and walk away and don't say anything. Communicate, hey, I want to talk with you, but I just need a minute to calm down. I need to go wash my face. I need to take a second, just get a breath, and decompress for just a minute. And then come back. Keep your word. If it's going to be 10 minutes, then just take 10 minutes and do that and come back, engage in the conversation. But be open. Share your feelings. Talk about the good and bad things in your day. And openness is not just about dumping, right? It's not just about dumping, but then this turns into a conversation. It's kind of weird because she asks you about your day and you start sharing, and then you say, so how was your day? So weird. And it turns into this exchange of just kind of sharing life, right? We're talking about things that were good. We're talking about the things that were bad. We're being open. And it's not natural for guys to do this. It's not natural for us to love our spouses. It's just not natural. We work off of respect and not off of love. And so for us to act out of love, we have to intentionally be open. We have to remember to be open. I remember that phrase from the last couple of weeks, that emotional adultery, right? Guys, it's easy for us to talk about things, maybe, with somebody who doesn't live with us 24/7. The problem with that is when it's a person of the opposite sex in a closed-off environment, right? that turns into an emotional adultery situation because you are getting an emotional fulfillment with a relationship that is not with your spouse. If you were to have that same exchange with the person that you're married to, it would open up a whole new world of intimacy and closeness that you have potentially never even imagined, right? So if you're sharing your emotions with your wife, if you're sharing how your day went, if you're talking about all these things, if you're being open, then you don't need to seek that emotional fulfillment anywhere else. Because you've got it right there at home. Next is understanding. Understanding. Listen without fixing. Listen and have empathy. It's a good practice just to ask the question, right? Ask the question, do you need my ear or do you need a solution? Right? When you're understanding, when you're listening to her, do you need my ear or do you need a solution? And just let her talk for a minute. Just let her talk for a second. James 1:19, listen quickly and speak slowly. Right? You got 2 ears, you got 1 mouth. Use those more than you do this, right? Be quick to listen and slow to speak. So how do you understand your wife? I ask that question every day. How can I understand her better? Because I thought I had it figured out, and then yesterday happened, and I just don't even know what happened. Like, it was just crazy. How do you understand? How can you understand your wife? How do you understand women? You listen. You got to study them, right? How do you learn and understand anything else? You study it. You prepare. You pay attention to it. It starts with listening, and again, invite your wife for coffee. The whole face-to-face thing, and we're going to dig into that a little bit later on, but the whole face-to-face thing is a big deal for women. Invite her for coffee and just sit and listen and talk. And as she's saying things, even as you're just kind of like walking around the store and she points to something that she likes, like listen to that. What are the things that she likes? And I can tell you right now that the things that she liked when you first got married are different now. They change. The things that she likes now are not the same things that she liked 20 years ago. Right? She may go, oh yeah, that's kind of nice, but it's not as exhilarating for her as it used to be. Because things have changed. Life has changed. We've gone through different stages of life. So it's a constant learning and understanding. And as you're listening to her, don't interrupt her. Just let her talk. Understand, listen, and understand who she is, what she's saying, what she's talking about, how she's responding to the environment around her. Peacemaking. Peacemaking. This one's really easy, guys, right? We all are jumping at the opportunity to say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm guilty. Like, we jump at that, right? That's the first thing that we do. No, it's not easy. Guys aren't programmed to be wrong. We are programmed to be right. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. It's hard for me to say I'm sorry. It's hard for me, one, because I'm embarrassed that I was wrong, right? There's some pride there. It's hard for me because I don't want to be wrong. I just don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. But just say I'm sorry. Just when you mess up, own it. You mess up and you apologize. Again, going back to that sanctification thing, right? When we screw up, maybe there's something that gets pointed out that's a sin in our lives, and that's an opportunity for us to confess it and repent and get forgiveness. And so peacemaking, when we're engaged in a disagreement, in a growth moment, as some people might say, or wherever it is you phrase it. You know, when you're engaged in these moments of disagreement, right? Be the first one to just say, hey, you know what? I don't want this to be a heated argument. So seek peace. Seek peace. Be humble in spirit. 1 Peter 3:8. Be humble in spirit. And when things aren't getting heated, you know what? I mean, again, use your time out. Use your time out. Hey, I'm really feeling disrespected. You're feeling unloved. We need a time out before we both say something that we're going to regret later. something that's going to take us even deeper into this rabbit hole of this activity, right? So call a time out and say, hey, look, let's reconvene in 10 minutes. Go your separate ways and then come back when tempers have cooled and engage in the conversation. But be a peacemaker. And I'm guilty of this one. It's don't speak with anger, right? Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer turns away anger, but a harsh word stirs up wrath. Boy, don't you know, I know that one, right? If you're a peacemaker, then you guard how you respond. It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. And I told you, apparently, as I've gotten older, I just have resting angry face. And so, apparently it's like become a thing amongst you people, that recognizing that I have resting anger. Like I'm completely happy. Like I'm joy-filled and I look like I'm ready to bite somebody's head off. That's beside the point. Just make sure that when you're responding, that you're responding with gentleness, that you're responding with softness, that you're responding with kindness. Let her vent her frustrations. She may come in and need to tell you something that's not even about you, right? She may have just had the worst encounter on the highway with somebody who cut her off and gave her the bird and all kind of fun stuff, and all she's coming in to do is just to rant about it for a minute. And maybe she comes in and the door slams and you're just like, oh great. Right? And you're like, what's wrong with you? Well, if you go that way, then the anger is going to come at you, right? Then it's going to be about you. But if you respond, you're like, honey, what's wrong? And then she gets into her frustration venting, it's okay. You need to hear that, and you need to respond with gentleness and kindness because you're making peace in her, right? You're creating a peaceful environment. You're allowing her to just blow off the steam, and you're not getting angry at her about it. And maybe it is something that she just kind of blows up and she's angry about something that you did 3 days ago that you completely didn't even realize that you did, but now she's telling you about it. It's okay, just like let that happen. Because once she gets it out, she's ready to move forward. Once she gets it out, and if it is about you, then you can say, hey, I'm sorry. Right? You're peacemaking. Work to resolve conflict. Don't ignore it. Repent, seek forgiveness if you're in the wrong. And then if there's a situation where you guys are at odds with each other, when she comes to you and says, hey, we were at odds with each other, and I'm sorry because I misinterpreted or I misconstrued or I understood this incorrectly or I just had a bad day and I was taking it out on you, whatever that looks like, when she comes to you and she says, I'm sorry, don't go, well, it's about time. Extend forgiveness. Extend the forgiveness. Be a peacemaker. Loyalty. Loyalty. She needs to know that you're committed. And this is going back to the thing that we kind of talked about. Guard your heart, guard your mind, guard your eyes. You have eyes only for her. She needs to know that you're loyal to her. Again, avoid emotional adultery. Right? You're loyal to her, you're sharing, you're open. These other elements kind of play into this. Loyalty. She knows that you're loyal to her, then she's going to be more apt to show respect. And if you're looking at inappropriate content, then she sees that as, well, you're loyal to me until you actually have access to something else. Until this thing comes along, or that thing comes along, or this person comes along. And then where am I going to be? How are you reinforcing your loyalty? And guys, I want to challenge us to be above reproach. Don't give the resemblance of anything inappropriate. Cancel that swimsuit edition subscription. Like, just cut that stuff off. Cut it out. Be above reproach. Loyalty can show up also when you're speaking highly of her in front of other people. Be involved in her life, right? She has stuff that she enjoys doing that she just wants you to be there. Be a partner in life with her. Be involved with her. Do the things that she's interested in. Make her a priority. Don't be critical of her in front of other people. Esteem. Esteem. Honor and cherish her. And this, again, walks hand in hand with loyalty. And this one I think is a little bit easier for us because guys already kind of operate on this honor system. We kind of have this whole respect thing down. This is the esteem thing is where you're actually extending that respect and that honor to your spouse. But you value her, right? You value her input into your life when you're sharing, when you're being open with her and she speaks into your life. You value that. Express your appreciation of the things that she does, right? I don't know if your underwear shows up magically in your underwear drawer like mine does sometimes. Like, it didn't get there by a little yard gnome coming in and doing your stuff, right? Thank her for that. Show appreciation. You know, this is kind of crazy, but just tell her that you're proud of her for something. Right? I mean, how is she with the kids? Are you proud of the way she interacts with the kids? Are you proud of the way that she's engaging with the neighbor? Are you proud of the fact that she's working too and she's going outside the home and engaging culture and she's doing things? Like, express your pride in her. Tell her the things that make you smile. Tell her the things that you cherish about her. Speak those things up and speak that life into her. And then invest time. When you're investing your time, right, that's you honor and you cherish the things that you put your time and energy into. So esteem her. All right, guys, now that we've all got our marching orders here, it's time to pick on the women a little bit. And let them know a little bit about who we are and the things that we value and the things that we find as respectful from them. And so we're going to use the acronym for CHAIRS, right? CHAIRS. And I don't know if it's because we think guys like to sit a lot or what, but CHAIRS is where it's coming from. But so conquest is the C. Conquest. We work and achieve, right? We value work. We kind of have this natural push within us to do work, to accomplish things. I'm not very handy, but I've tried to build some things, and I can tell you that when it took me 1.5 years to build a bookshelf, I looked at it and I was like, I did that. I accomplished that. That was awesome. It was an achievement. Like, we all kind of thrive off of working and achieving and doing these things. I mean, here's the natural question that guys ask each other, right? When we're first introduced. So what do you do? What's your job? What do you do? Why don't we care? Because it's valuable. Because we all work. We want to achieve. It's a core value for men to work and to achieve. And if a wife implies that, or even says that her husband's work is not that important, that's a huge wound. Whether it's realized in that moment or not, it's a deflating statement. It's sort of like calling him a loser. Because guys work, they achieve. It's something they want to do. It's something they're built to do. And women, I want to encourage you to encourage your husband. Encourage him in his desire for work and achievement. How do you do this? Tell him that you value his work efforts. Express faith in him to accomplish the job. And this is crucial. I mean, I'll tell you right now, there's days that, walk away from here, heading into here, where it just feels like I'm not capable, I'm not worthy of this. And Heather can just say, you know what, God's called you to this, and you've prepared for it, and you can go do this. Like, those 3 simple statements will take me from flat on the floor sucking my thumb to ready to go. Why? Why? Because I have a desire to achieve. I have a desire to do work well. It's crucial. If you can encourage your spouse, express faith in their ability to do the job that they've been called to do, the job that they're going out to do, if you express that faith and encourage them in that, it will elevate them. And try not to criticize their work, especially publicly, right? this goes for both sides. Don't like dog your spouse in front of other people. So not cool. So not cool. Try to lift them up. Try to elevate them. Hierarchy. Protect and provide. Protect, and then this goes back to the passage that men are called to see their wives as the weaker vessel, right? So again, feminists say, "No, we're equal. We can all do the same things." Well, sure, we're all equal, but let's be honest, right? There are some things that a guy can do that you can't do, and it's because we're made to work in concert together with each other, right? To protect and provide. And honestly, if there's somebody coming into my house, I'm going to do everything I can to protect Heather and the kids, right? It's this natural fight or flight, and when it comes to protecting our family, it's always going to be fight. It's because that's how we're wired. It's who we are. It's the way we're meant to be. And, you know, again, God has created us, right? He's created us to complement each other and for us to provide and protect. And I'll tell you, men are challenged in the culture today to be the provider. Like we just talked about the whole work and achieve thing, right? I mean, we have a dual working household situation, and I think most everybody here does. And you know, and at some point, if it's not right now, it has been. But we're in a culture that's so demanding. We're in a culture that is in a community that is really expensive to live in, right? Just the cost of living is high, and so this isn't even just to be able to get your vacation home in the boat that you want. This is just to keep the lights on and the bills paid, right? And so in our culture, sometimes it's really hard for guys to step into that provider role. And so this is when, again, your words, women, your encouragement in these things, it helps. It elevates your husband. It encourages him. Yes, you both might be working, and yes, you might be out earning him, but for you to say, I appreciate what you do, and your work is important, and I have faith in you doing your job, and you do these little things of encouragement, and you express admiration for his willingness to provide and his willingness to protect. These things speak life into him. Authority. Serve and lead. Men are built to lead. It's in their DNA. We want to serve, we want to care for the wife and the family. And again, it kind of fits in with this idea of protect and provide. Men are called to lead their households and to point their family to Christ. And it's not just about making the decision to where to go on vacation, or leading the way in financial planning, or making a call about where to eat tonight. We want to be leading in different capacities. We want to be guiding the way. We want to be navigating our family to success. So how women, can you encourage your husband to step into this and be comfortable in this role? You encourage him as a leader in the home. Praise him for the good decisions that are made, right? Have plenty of grace for the bad ones. Nobody's going to bat 1,000. And if you have concerns about decisions that are being made, express those concerns privately. Don't do it in front of the family. Don't do it in front of the neighbors. Make the decision to have that conversation separately in a moment where you can engage in real conversation, right? Because he'll receive that as disrespect. He won't receive that as love. He will receive that as disrespect. And that'll just close him off. That openness will kind of start going away. Insight. Guys naturally kind of want to analyze and counsel. Right? We kind of talked about this. Guys, you listen to your spouse when she's talking about problems and just kind of listen to her. Now, ladies, recognize that guys want to listen to your problems and fix them. Like, we have all the right answers to all of your problems, and yet we've got a mountain full of problems that we have no clue as to how to handle them, right? But again, that being the provider and that protector, like when we hear about your problems, like I want to go strangle my wife's boss, right? But I can't do that because then that would be no good for either one of us. Or our girls, and But guys like to analyze, they like to counsel, they are fixers. They want to protect. I hear something's wrong and I want to make it right. And it's easy for us to hear your problem, go, you know what you need to do? What you need to do is shut your mouth. But guys want to do that. Like that fuels them. To be able to speak to you and give you counsel and to give you advice. And for you to seek it out, right? For you to seek, hey, I need your opinion about something. I need you to give me some advice on something. I need to hear what you have to say about this situation. And again, it's okay. It's okay to come up and say, hey, you know what? I need to vent for a minute. I just need your ear. I don't need a solution. I just need you to hear me. But communicate that. And then be open and thankful for the advice that you get. And even when we slip up and you just shared something and we really were supposed to be just an ear and we give you advice, don't get mad. Like we're just kind of naturally being who we are and it's not intended to be insulting to you. But just give us a little bit of grace, but just say, okay, thank you. But I got something else I need to share. I just need to share this. Right? You can bring it back up gracefully and put it in a way that he can just hear you. But then also just remember to go to him. Don't just go to your girlfriends. Don't just go to your mom. Don't just go to this person that you always call about it, for advice. Go to him. Go to him. Seek his advice. Seek his counsel. I mean, he's your partner. He wants you to have success in life. He wants you to win. Be open and thankful. Give him the opportunity to give you counsel. And then the last thing, well, not the last thing, we have one more. Relationships, shoulder-to-shoulder friendship, right? We talked about guys, ladies engage face-to-face. Guys engage shoulder-to-shoulder. We'll go to a football game, rip our shirts off, paint our chest, act like idiots, and we've had the best day in our lives. We've never shared a single thing except for high fives about who scored a touchdown, right? Man, that's my best friend. What'd y'all do? We took our shirts off and painted our chest and screamed at the top of our lungs for 3 hours. Woo! Best friend. Where's he live? I don't know. Is he married? I don't know. Like that old commercial, right? Wait, you're married? Like, that remember that? Like we tailgate together every week and didn't even know you were married. What? Anyway. But shoulder-to-shoulder relationship, that's where guys kind of make it happen, right? The whole face-to-face thing, like we'll do it, but it doesn't come natural to us. What comes natural to us is working together, serving together, going to a game together, being side by side. And ladies, I want to encourage you that if you know that that's how he feels friendship, then step into that. Lean into it. One of the best times that I have with my wife is just sitting on the couch watching TV. Like, I can reach over, and if she reaches over, we can touch hands. And we're watching the same show. Like, I feel really close to her in that moment. I feel like we're really connecting because we agree that the lady who's looking for a house on House Hunters is an idiot. Right? We're shoulder to shoulder. That's how guys engage the world, is shoulder to shoulder. That's how we feel like friendships are built. It's being in the same room together. So engage him in that. Engage him in that. In the relationship, this is, ladies, you just tell us that you like us, right? Just tell me that you like me. Like that's going to fill my tank up pretty full. Just tell me that you like me. We know that you love because that's who you are. You naturally just kind of love. Does your wife love you? Absolutely. Does she like you right now? No, not right now. She doesn't. She's mad at me right now. Right? Establish that. Build that relationship. Let him know that you like him. Engage in his activities with him. Now, I will tell you, sometimes guys just need guy time, right? Sometimes guys just need guy time. We need other guys that we can take our shirts off with, pay our chest, and scream for 3 hours, right? We need that. But engage in some things that you guys can do together that he enjoys doing. And likewise, that goes both ways. But allow room for that, for you to do shoulder-to-shoulder activity with him, and then allow room for him to do shoulder-to-shoulder activity with other guys. Because that fuels him, that fills him up. It feels like he's being respected and he's allowed to have his time to do the things that are meaningful to him, to allow him to be a better guy for you. And the last one. We're all adults here. Sexual intimacy. Sexuality. This is intimacy. In healthy marriages, sexual intimacy is wonderful, both husband and wife. God created us like this. He created us like this. The guy needs sexual release. There's tension that is relieved. There are a bunch of different reasons that kind of point back to that sexual desire. And ladies, he's in a committed relationship with you. So if you don't want him to be in a not committed relationship with you, then y'all need to talk about how to make this work. Right? This is one of those areas in marriage, like we're just red-faced and embarrassed to talk about it. But I can tell you, if you engage in the conversation, the end result is going to be stronger intimacy. It's going to lead you to a place that's fulfilling for both him and for her. Ladies feel filled up. They feel intimate when their emotional needs are met, when they feel like they're loved. And guys are going to feel that intimacy through sexual relationship, through intimacy and being together. So how do you do this, ladies? How do you do this? You respond to him sexually, maybe even initiate it periodically, right? Don't withhold the encounters to punish him or to push him to engage you emotionally. Like if there's a problem, like use your words. I mean, and I've got the passage, I don't have it in my notes here, but there's a passage that says not to withhold yourself. It goes both ways. Men, don't withhold yourself, and women, don't withhold yourself from your spouse. But to give each other over to the other. Unless you have agreed for a time to withhold. But it's a mutual agreement. Don't use this as a way to control a situation. Use your words if there's a problem. When you engage in the sexual intimacy element of your relationship, it's going to change things for both of you. So, we've outlined a lot of different things here, and my battery's about to die, so we may lose this. But our acronym, couple and chairs. If we can work through couples and chairs, and we can approach it in a way that will transform us, if we'll use these things as a tool, as a resource to help guide us in our exchanges with each other, it'll lead us to experience love and respect in the marriage. It'll energize us. In the book, Love and Respect, he talks about a crazy cycle, and he talks about an energizing cycle, right? And so the energizing cycle is when she feels loved, he feels respected, he feels loved, she feels respected, and it just continues to feed itself. And it goes around and around. So as long as you're feeling love, he's going to feel respected. And as long as he's feeling respected, you're going to feel loved. It works together. If we can do this, we'll be honoring God by loving and respecting our spouses, seeing each other based on how we are created. We're going to be acting naturally to speak into each other and to fulfill each other based on how we're created, how we're built to fit together in a marriage relationship. We're going to dig into conversations tonight about this, and I want to challenge all of us to just kind of think through this. Be reflective. Think about how you can utilize the acronym couple, how you can utilize the acronym chairs. Utilize those things to transform the way you engage with each other, and just see how it brings love and respect into your relationship, and see how it transforms you to be better friends, that have benefits. Let's pray.